This is week 3 of FTM television. Well, it would have been, but I was really busy last week, so I'm posting it today. My hair. It's really bugging me. I need a haircut really bad. I don't have time to do that right now, so I just kind of parted it down the middle and tucked it behind my ears, so I know I look like a complete dweeb today, but what can you do, right? Alrighty, so I'm on my bed. It's comfy, kind of, except I can't really breathe. So, back on topic here. This week's topic is when and how did you figure out that you were trans? Something I should mention is that contrary to some people's belief, all trans individuals are different and figure out they're trans at different stages in their life. So there's no wrong way to be trans, and figuring it out later in life doesn't make you any less trans than those who figure it out when they're very young. My story is pretty complicated. There's like little stages. I had quite a process with that. You'll hear a lot of stories from other F to M's about how when they were kids, they kind of like knew that they were boys when they were little. I wasn't like that. Honestly, the last thing on my mind when I was a kid was gender. I didn't see gender, and I didn't really care about it. Kids were all just kind of the same to me. Boys and girls, I mean, that's back when we all used to play together. I mean, girls would be invited to boys' birthday parties and vice versa. You all just sort of got along. I also was fairly girly. I wore my hair long. I wore dresses. I played with dolls, and I liked dolls. I was very easy to please as a kid. You could put any toy in front of me, and I'd be happy. I'd just play with it happily. I didn't think about it. I didn't think that something was wrong with me or anything like that. There was a time, probably between the age of 6 and 9, where I really wanted a mushroom cut, but I never did get one due to the parental units not liking that idea. So my hair was kept long, but I didn't mind. The only thing was dresses. Felt kind of strange. What grossed me out about dresses was, I mean, there's no barrier between you and the outside world except that little drape of fabric over your legs. So the wind could pick up speed and your dress could fly up, and voila, there's your panties, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's just kind of icky. When I hit puberty, my tune changed. That's when I really started to figure out that something was up. I was about 15 years old when I hit puberty. I was a late bloomer. I started to menstruate. I got my period, menstruate is a technical term. And I started growing breasts, and both of those things really freaked me out. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is not cool. What the fuck is this shit? I was freaking out, and I felt I was wrong somehow. I refused to wear pads or tampons. I preferred paper towel or Kleenex. Or, I would rather have gotten my underwear dirty than to wear feminine protection. It was emasculating. I also refused to wear bras until I was about 16, and my breasts were starting to get a little bit larger, and my mom was like, your nipples are poking through your shirt. You really should do something about that. And I'm like, ugh. I developed some anger problems when I started to menstruate, and the doctor blamed it on PMS, but I had an abnormal amount of rage. I punched a window, and my wrist went through it, and I ended up needing a whole shitload of stitches, probably close to about 18 of them, internal and external. I had broken right through almost to the bone, so I needed stitches to hold the inside of my wrist together, and then they put stitches on the outside. So that's how bad it was. And why? Because I just didn't feel right anymore. I had a favorite male celebrity at the time, Taylor Hanson, actually. My parents thought that my obsession with Taylor Hanson was nothing but a crush, but it was actually like this admiration and this idolizing. I wanted to be him. I actually wanted to be him. I thought, okay, if he can be a boy with long blonde hair, so can I. I tried really hard to look like him, to dress like him, to act like him, everything, I saw that he wore skate shoes. I went out and bought myself a pair of skate shoes. I got cologne. I started experimenting with, you know, a more boyish side. I wanted people to call me a boy and stuff. And I think I said that in class at the beginning of, I think it was either grade 8 or 9. I said, yeah, you know, we had to do this show and tell where we talk about ourselves. And I was like, I like boy things like hockey and skateboarding. And people were like, those aren't necessarily boy things. Girls do that too. And I was like, God damn it, people. I just want to be called a boy. I didn't know why. I didn't actually have a word to put to it. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what that was called. I didn't really find out about that word until much later. And yeah, there was just so much pressure from my family and my friends, people at school, and I just really wanted to fit in, and I wanted to appear attractive to boys because I was attracted to boys. And if you wanted boys to like you, you wore makeup and you dressed pretty and in a way that would be noticeable to them. So I just sort of ditched that brief trying to be like a boy phase to begin this hyper-feminine phase that started off just sort of with a little bit of makeup and with clothes that were a bit more feminine. It gradually grew into something much bigger and actually lasted about 8 years. I basically went into a deep stage of denial after that brief boyish phase, and I stayed in denial for a very long time. And the longer I stayed in denial, the more damaged I got psychologically. I became really girly. Around the age of 17, I got even more girly. I started to become promiscuous, and I was bleaching my hair blonde all the time, wearing shitloads of makeup, plucking my eyebrows, always had to look just perfect, you know. I was like a Barbie doll. And the plunging necklines. My breasts got really big around the age of 17, 18, 19. They just got gradually bigger and bigger. They got up to about an E cup, and I was wearing these tops that just pushed them up to my chin. Well, not quite like that, but they just, you know, I feel kind of icky thinking about it, to be honest with you. I dressed very slutty, for lack of a better word. And I just wanted attention, and I had no self-esteem, so I just basically slept with whoever. And then, like I said, as time went on in that overcompensation phase, as I like to call it, I got more damaged. I got into drugs and a little bit of alcohol. It was self-injuring. I actually started self-injuring at the age of 16. So I was self-injuring, I was doing drugs, I was promiscuous, sleeping around with just about everybody. And then around the age of 19, I started to escort. I started selling myself for money, you know, selling sex, basically. People do what they need to do to make money, but it really damaged me psychologically. It'd be okay if I did it as a guy, because I'd be who I am. But as a girl, you know, just being treated so, just being treated like that by all those guys that I didn't know. That's just, it really damaged me. It really fucked me up big time. So I was trying to figure myself out, and I knew I didn't feel like myself. I knew I didn't feel right. So what I was trying to do is figure out where I fit in. So I tried out all these different subcultures. I tried to be goth for a while. I tried to be a skater for a while. I tried to be a candy kid, you know, a type of raver for a while. And a bunch of other stuff too, club kid, whatever else, and none of it fit. And that's because no matter what I was wearing, no matter who I was trying to be, I wasn't being myself, because I wasn't living as a boy, I was living as a girl. And then 2004 rolls around, and I go to this gay pride parade, and I'm walking around seeing all these shirtless guys. And I'm realizing not only am I attracted to all these gay guys, more so than I'm attracted to straight guys, but I felt this strong urge to just rip my shirt off and go and join them. And then I realized, shit, I'm not only wearing a pile of makeup and have hair down to my ass, but I have tits the size of watermelons. Oh my god. That was and that was the first time I really had this intense gender dysphoria. That was this big realization for me. I'm like, holy shit. So not only am I into gay men, I think I am one. I told my best friend at the time, after the parade, and he actually knew a trans woman who lived in the States, and he talked to her online and stuff, and she told him all sorts of stuff about being trans and the struggle that you have to go through and things like that. And he really understood, and he's an objective type person, so he hears things and he'll tell them like he's told. He's not going to put his own spin on them, you know? So he said to me, you know, I know this is a very difficult time for you, and these are the things you need to understand about transitioning. And this is also advice I would give to anybody, is you got to know these things before you even consider transitioning. You could lose family and friends. This is what Mike said to me. You can lose your family and friends. You have to be prepared for that. You know, you have to weigh the good and the bad. I mean, is it worth losing your family just to feel like yourself, just to be yourself, just to not want to kill yourself? After he talked to me about all that and stuff, and he actually started to call me Dominic. That's the name I chose back in 2004. I stuck with it. He called me a guy and everything, but I didn't really come out to anybody else for 2 years. And I forced myself to stay in the closet that long, and to stay a girl, and to stay escorting, you know, to stay selling my body, just to stay doing drugs, this and that and the other thing. Because I thought I could handle it. I thought I could fix myself. So for 2 more years, I stayed doing all that. I stayed being that person. In 2006, I started coming out to people, and in December of 2006, I hit rock bottom. I was very big into drugs at that point. I was like overdosing almost every single weekend. I was cutting myself regularly. I was slitting my wrists. I was a mess, and some of my friends at that point, like I said, I started coming out in 2006. And this was December, this was the end of the year, and you know, one of my best friends at the time said, Dominic, if you don't start to transition soon, you're going to end up killing yourself. So it was at that point where I decided, you know what, I'm going to have to, because I can't keep doing this to myself. I can't keep denying who I am. So it was at that point where I cut all my hair off, I tossed the drugs, I actually gave them all to a drag queen. She did most of them in one night, which is really not good. And I started living as Dominic, early 2007. And I never went back. Since I've transitioned, I've actually sort of settled on a style, or a subculture, if you will. Sort of like this emo / 16-year-old skater boy kind of style. And I've stuck with it because that's who I am. I'm comfortable with that because I'm not constantly trying to figure out who I am anymore. I know. So yeah, that's how my realization went. But it was very much a process, you know, very much a process. My advice to anyone who thinks they might be trans is take your time and really think about it, figure it out, do your research, and talk to a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist about it, a therapist, whatever. They can help you figure it out if you can't figure it out on your own. Go to your doctor and get a referral to the gender specialist in your area. It's very important to go and see a professional, because not only can they help you figure out whether or not you're trans, they can also help you along with your transition. Don't tell anybody you're trans until you know for sure. Experiment with it. In the case of female to male, try binding and dressing up as a guy, you know, presenting as male, and see how you feel. So that's my story. And yeah, I hope you all had a great 2 weeks, because I haven't seen you in that long, or a great week. Yeah, a great week. And I will see you in my next video, because I'm posting 2 today. So take care, and ciao.